Yeah, once again, this is your man
Ishi Hakase.
coming at you with some news or not news. I want to first begin with thanking everybody out there that's been checking in. It's been great. I have people from North America, South America, Asia. Let's keep it going. Once again, thank you. I appreciate it. I saw something in the news today, CNN's headline, but I'll begin with the story. At 75, Ishi Hakase was in good health and in love. It was 2013, and he had embarked on an exciting new relationship with Chisako, a 67-year-old woman he met through a Japanese matchmaking agency. Within 2 months, only 2 months, the couple married, moved in together, and began a seemingly blissful life in Kyoto, making rice cakes for their New Year's celebrations. But Mr. Shao, he didn't live to see the new year, because on December 28th, he became the fourth and final victim of Japan's Black Widow killer. Chisako, now 74, is on death row for murdering 3 romantic partners and the attempted murder of a 4th. The murder started in 2007 when she was 61, but she escaped suspicion until Ishi's death prompted a police investigation that resulted in her arrest in 2014. Investigators searched the home of Chisako and her deceased husband Ishi on November 20th, 2014. In 2017, she was sentenced to death after one of Japan's longest trials. An appeal to overturn the ruling failed in June. The quote is, "She used a matchmaking agency to get acquainted with elderly victims, one after another, and poisoned them after making them trust her," said the judge in June, ruling. According to the public broadcast from NHK. He said it's a ruthless crime based on a planned and strong murderous intention. As an aside, these victims were poisoned with cyanide. And I don't know where you get that. I mean, you can't just go online and get cyanide. So this was a very, very calculating, ruthless crime, as the judge said. The case captivated Japan and highlighted the dangers of lurking online for aging singles vulnerable to love scams. And it has also caused the country to question why a woman in her sunset years would start killing the men she purported to love. Well, the answer to that question is actually very easy. It's money. Japan has a second Black Widow killer, Kojima, 46, who was also on death row for killing 3 men she met on dating websites in 2009 and making it look like suicide in each case. She, too, had been motivated by money, according to Asahi. After Kojima's 100-day trial, she was sentenced to death in 2012. COVID has made it almost impossible to meet new people. So many have turned to online dating apps such as Tinder and Bumble and OkCupid, Coffee Meets Bagels, and there are many, many others. Last March, Tinder recorded its highest number of swipes in a single day. You want to guess? 3 billion with a B. From March to May, OkCupid saw a 700 increase in dates. And over on Bumble, video calls increased 70%. Seems that even a pandemic can't stop the search for love. This has created fertile ground for internet scammers to ply their trade. And in some instances, victims have been reported to being scammed more than once. The ugly truth is that romance scams have soared during the pandemic as millions of lonely people turn to online dating, perhaps for the first time. So let me take you through a scenario. You go out on a first date with someone. You meet at a restaurant or a bar, pub. You get through that sort of awkward introduction, a little small talk. You sit down, you try to relax. You tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do for a living, your occupation, some family that you might have, some recent travel that you went through. And then your partner, so to speak, your date, looks at you and says, I know we're just meeting for the first time, but I'm feeling a really, really deep connection to you. In fact, I think I'm falling in love. Would you get me 4 $100 Amazon gift cards? Now, if that actually happened to you in real life, you would bail as fast as you could. You'd run for your life. But somehow in this context of sort of internet matchmaking, it seems to work. Romance fraud has increased by 38% just in 2020, according to the latest data from a financier in the UK. They have also reported nearly 3,000 cases of internet love scams. Over £21 million have been lost to scammers. That's a 17% year-on-year increase, with an average loss per victim of £7,000. And those aged 70 and older reported a median loss of £10,000. Some individuals even report losing as much as £100,000. Victims aren't just losing their life savings. Some are taking on new debt in the name of love, taking out home equity loans, opening up new credit cards, and even getting payday loans to solve somebody else's crisis, whether that be a medical emergency or there's business trouble. Love, after all, it should be like the movies, right? We've grown up with this kind of romanticized notion that we see in the romantic comedies like Isn't It Romantic and Crazy Rich Asians or Pretty Woman, where all these improbable scenes happen, but in the end we always end up finding love, right? Well, the fraudsters know this and they're taking full advantage. If they haven't wrapped their arms around your credit card or your money, they're going to be out of there. There are hundreds and hundreds of sad stories about people getting scammed. I only have a few because we just don't have that much time. But I'll go to one Metro Detroit man who reported meeting a woman online who quickly told him she loved him. His online connection, though, included a video chat that had no sound, and she apparently lived in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, just not always the most convenient place to get to. But all of a sudden, she needed help. And over time, he ended up sending her $13,000. And of course, we know that it turned out to be an imposter. Authorities suspected it was actually a porn star because there were lots of so-called videos available that she could share with her suitor. It's amazing how deeply they get into your head and your heart with Facebook messages, said Mr. Larson, who is 54, who now lives in northern Montana, and was caught in a romance scam for for the duration of almost a year. Larson, who had divorced after a 20-year marriage, got caught up after a woman sent him a friend request on Facebook in January. There is your first warning. If you get a friend request from someone you don't know and there is a super hot picture of that person, that is your red flag. He didn't know her earlier, but she was nice. She showed pictures of herself dressed up when she was going to church. He would be home after, unfortunately sustaining an injury at work and dealing with some other medical issues. So, he was captivated. So they exchanged selfies with one another. And he said, she was interested in me. She was interested in my life. And she made me feel likable. and lovable and interesting. Then after 2.5 months, she broke her cell phone and needed another one. And because she was a student, asked him to buy it for her. And that's when he lost his first $1,000. He sent the money to her Western Union. And then supposedly there was a mix-up. He sent more money again. And then he went on to say in an interview, "I know I'm not the only divorced middle-aged man that's lonely and wants someone to talk to." Over roughly 8 months, he put money on Steam gift cards, supposedly to help her cover her cell phone bills. They only talked a few times, but she accessed Facebook via the cell phone. He helped with legal bills for the inheritance that she was supposed to be claiming. He bought lots and lots and lots of Amazon gift cards, $100 each. He'd take pictures of the gift cards, send her the numbers on them, so she had immediate access to the cash. He never even mailed the cards to her. He was flat broke at one point, and somehow she convinced him to apply for a Target credit card. And that same day, he maxed it out to buy her gift cards. At another point, she wanted him to open a bank account on her behalf. When he said he didn't have money to do that, she asked that if he could just provide his online banking information so she could wire money to cover the cell phone to his account. He asked her to send a check. She insisted on sending it directly to the bank. He gave her the online bank information. She deposited a fake check, and he ultimately ended up with a $2,000 overdraft. When he started suspecting something, it took a while, yes, but when he started to suspect something, he asked her to send him another selfie. And she did, but this time it was a picture of a different woman. He soon crafted his own story where he pretended to have major surgery coming up, and then perhaps he would stop responding to her text messages, and then she would just think he's dead. But after talking with an FBI agent, he eventually realized that the she was probably a he, or maybe a group of he's overseas engaged in scamming Americans out of their money. That's a sad story. But we have to understand how these fake connections get to your money. Once they convince you that they're in love, maybe promising to visit you by Christmas, and they'll find a reason to ask for some cash. Most of us would dump a guy or a gal in seconds if they asked us for $500 on the first date, but somehow this online universe is different. Once they have you, they have you. They've found a way to get in your pocket because you are out of sorts. Your logical thought process has been removed once again in this online context. So I want to help you spot these romance scams. And if it's not you, you pass this along to some of your friends and family because it's happening to too many people. If a person claims that they're falling in love with you, or it's love at first sight, or there's 24-hour whirlwind, or they're hearing bells, they're scamming you. If someone introduces themselves as having an impressive career, maybe they're an airline pilot, and they fly out of Dubai, or they're a mechanical engineer and they work on an oil rig out in the high seas, and it's really hard to sort of get access to that person. So they got a really, really good job, but they're not around so much, and it's hard to meet that person. You're getting scammed. And many times scammers will create profiles online using other people's pictures. So what you can do is you can do a reverse image search on Google, thank you Google, and see if that photograph has been used somewhere else. Probably has been. Scammers like to use lots of tricks during this sort of romance scam. And here are some of their other common tactics, which is the emergency. They profess their love and they want to get married, but it's difficult to meet you because they live really far away. And then they claim some emergency has occurred and they need money. So in 2020, some scammers claimed that they had even tested positive for COVID-19 and needed money for a treatment. A special place in hell for all of these scammers that have tried to pull this move. After the targets send money, poof, the scammers disappear. Then there's the sort of investment play, right? The scammer tries to lure victims into investing by asking people to wire money to them or send them links to, certain investment applications. And these are malicious or phishing links, and they're designed to trick people into sending money or personal information. And you've heard this many times, and I don't know, people still do it. Don't click on suspicious links. And these investment things, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And then there's the gift play, right? The scammers claim that they want to send you a gift from overseas, but a tariff or shipment fee is needed to send the goods. And they ask the victim to wire money or send them prepaid cards. And once they get the money, they're gone. And then there's the extreme case of sextortion. So some victims have reported that they've had private exchanges with photos or maybe intimate video calls, and then the scammers turn around, they take that information and they try to exploit that person by saying that we're going to put it out there to all your contacts unless you send us money. So, a couple of words of wisdom. If somebody says they love you online, but they live in another country and they're really far away from you, that's a problem. If the profile's too good to be true, that's a problem. If they ask for money, that's a problem. If they have constant excuses for not being able to meet you, that's a problem. And if their language skills are bad, for instance, if you're an English speaker and their English isn't so good, buyer beware, so to speak. So there's a couple of ways you can protect yourself. As I said before, you can do these reverse image searches to make sure that the person's picture is really their picture, so you know you're not getting catfished. Don't ever wire money to people that you meet on the internet, ever. Never give out your personal information, and avoid sharing your phone number or your address or passwords or bank account numbers or any identifiable information. Be smart with your information and avoid identity theft and other scams. I need everybody out there to think from the neck up and not the waist down. I know it's tough out there. I know many people are looking for love, and you do your thing, but you protect yourself. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So I just say, hey, look, listen to your man.
Ishi Hakase.
I'm here for you. If you need anything, you let me know. And remember, you matter. And I want you to stay safe. And I want you to stay happy. And I want you to check back in a couple of days.